And welcome to Planet Earth. And today we're going to be visiting the little planet of Kerbine. We're going to be helping the Kerbines out getting into space. And before we get started, I want to ask you please push that like and follow button. Catch me next time. We're going to go ahead and hop right into it. So last time we left off, we were running through the tutorial, right? Let's start a game. And we want to go to training. And the last one we did was Orbiting 101, go for orbit. So, next we have Orbiting 101. Hop right into it. The training scenario covers the basic of flying a spacecraft in orbit. Essential maneuvers like raising and lowering of PAPSIS and parapsis nodes. And I'm probably mispronouncing those terribly, but give it to me. And also important concepts such as what the terms apapsis and parapsis mean. You'll start off in a lower circular orbit around Kerbine with Orbit 1 training craft. Ready to go? Start. Here we are. Where's the planet? There we go. We gotta get the planet in view. Welcome to the Orbital 101 training program. I'm Jeannie Kerman and I'm going to teach you the basics of orbiting. I assume you've already done the basic flying tutorials and are ready to learn how to get around in space. If you haven't done them, we'll have hope you know what you're doing. Let's get started. Orbiting is really nothing more than free falling. The only thing is that as you fall, you're moving so fast forwards that you're actually missing the ground because because up here there is no atmosphere to slow you down at this height, and you will continue to free fall endlessly around the planet without having to use your engines. Now, this right here I find fascinating when it comes to space travel, and this game just doing its best to be a simulator, right? I really want to read that again, even though that orbiting is really nothing more than free falling. The only thing is that as you fall, you're moving so fast forwards that you actually miss the ground. Because up here, there is no atmosphere to slow you down at this height. You will continue to free fall endlessly around the planet without having to use your engines. We are currently on a low atmosphere circular orbit around Kerbine. To get a better view of the situation, press the M key to get into the map view. Here we go. Alright, here's our little orbit here. Wow, looks like something big hit Kerbine once before, huh? Hey, this is the map view. Here you can see your ship's position and its current trajectory around the planet. Hold right and click and move the mouse to look around and see your orbit from various angles. Also, hovering over the icon on the map will display more information about them. And by right-clicking the node, you will pin the info. Click the map when you're ready. Close the map when you're ready. So it says we can do stuff like right-click and it pins it, right? And be like, oh, what's the apapsis over there? We can right-click it. Nice. Let's click M. Back to the spaceship. So the little view up here, we want to see our little Kerbals in there. Yeah, they look like they having a blast, all freaking jaw dropping. You just get over it, dude. Try to get them in the view a little bit better. Yeah. So, good. Let's get practical now. I trust you already know your basic spacecraft controls. Up here, they're very much the same, except that the lack of atmosphere makes the ship behave quite a bit differently. Because there is no drag slowing you down for every input you apply, you'll have to apply an opposite one to come to a stop again. I'm going to remotely nudge and your attitude controls a little to try to get the ship back under control. Alright, we're gonna get ready here. I'm going to remotely nudge your attitude control a little, try to get you back on track. If you find yourself totally out of control, hit the T to toggle the SAS on. It will automatically cancel any remaining rotation. Just remember, you have to have fuel and stuff for that. Are you ready? Let's do it. But I can do it manually. We're, 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 we're going to manually fix this spin here. Alright, we got a right spin. Oh, we gotta stop spinning right. Uh, and we want to point back towards our the direction we're headed, alright? Who, who wants to do that? We want to spin it right up. We want to have some sense of forwards and up and down. Can we equal it out? There's no way to do it. You gotta turn on SAS. Because there's such minute little things that only a computer can calculate. If not, you'll constantly be. Attitude control is an essential skill for spacecraft piloting. Mastering it, and you'll be well on your way by becoming an expert pilot. You can try this again if you want, or press next if you're ready to move on. Next. Let's have a look at the nav ball now. You've probably seen the symbols on it when you were spinning around. Here's what they mean. Okay, you got prograde and retrograde. These point towards and away from the velocity vectors, respectively. It points to and away from where you're going. Radial in and out vectors. They point towards and away from the current orbited body. So let me. Okay, so if I change it to this one here, it's only to point away from the orbital body. You know what I'm saying? Radial in is going to point towards the planet. If you're out in the middle of space, those don't apply. Okay, normal. Okay. As you can see, I have no idea. Normal and anti-normal vectors, they are perpendicular to the orbital planet. They point upwards and downwards with the orbiting planet respectively. Yeah. We don't mess with those too much unless we're trying to like get out into like chase the moon as in an orbit here. I guess if I wanted to change my orbit in such a way, but really you'd be doing something a little bit different. Now let's try something a little more. Hey, don't be aing me. Now let's try something a little more involved. Open your map again. Uh-huh. What we want to do now is go through some of the basic maneuvers you'll need to know. Let's try raising your apapsis first. Okay, so there's my apapsis. We got it pinned out there. Let's try raising your apapsis first. The apapsis is the highest point in an orbit, and it's indicated by the node marked AP. So that's the highest point of the orbit. So if we kind of zoomed out, and we'll see there's a lot more space right here than it is here to our orbit. It's shown that this is 199,000 meters from there, and this 200,000 meters. The apopsis is the highest point. Yes, the best place to raise your apopsis is at the parapsis, PE. So the best place to raise one of these is going to be on the opposite side of itself. So parapsis P node, which is the lowest point of your orbit. If you hover the mouse over the parapsis node, you'll see that we are going to reach it in a few minutes. Once there, we will face prograde and burn. So when we reach this point here, the best way to change this would be to point the ship out. Point the ship out that way, do a burn, you know, or to make it smaller, we point the ship in towards the planet and burn it and bring it in. Alright? Press period to speed up time. Here we go. Do-do-do-do. Here we go. It's coming. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Good time to do our burn. Turn the ship to face the prograde vector now. Remember that you can just activate the stability asset T key and click the orbit prograde button next to the nav ball, and the ship's pilot or probe core will do it for you. Remember the prograde vector looks like this. Make sure the ship is pointed towards it before accelerating. So, we want to hit prograde. Let's go back to the map. We want to see this happen. I'm going to see the little Kerbal guys freaking out, because you're the first like group of Kerbals we've sent into space so far. Y'all ought to be proud of yourselves. We want to rotate. Yeah, I want to see y'all in there. Okay. Prograde SAS engage. Free to keep your steady. Press the Z key to accelerate. All right, here we go. Z. No, we're just gonna we're gonna do a slow burn so we can go to the map and see what's going on here. You see, we're accelerating, so it's making it go faster. I mean, it's getting bigger, alright, because we're speeding up, so we're going to go in a further. What does he want to reach? Keep thrusting prograde until your apopsis altitude reaches about 800,000 meters. We're about 300, so yeah, let's go ahead and turn that boost up. And we're doing this right here, and we're gonna help use the Kerbal's atmosphere there to speed us up, so it uses less fuel. If we would have tried to do it the other way, it would have been like just fighting gravity the whole time. The circle would only have been about halfway with half as much fuel. It's just because of the rotation of Kerbal. Well done. This is how you raise your apopsis node. With orbital maneuvers, pretty much everything you do will affect the apopsis. Will affect the opposite side of your orbit. So to raise the highest point, your apopsis, I know, I, I need to go watch a video on how to pronounce them correctly. Your thrust forward or prograde at the lowest point, perhaps is similar to raise your parapsis. Your your PE. That's what I'm gonna start calling them. I need to just AP and PE. Your PE at the lowest point. Your PE similar to raise your PE. Your thrust prograde at AP. We're on. See, now it sounds like I'm not even reading anything. We're on our way to the apopsis. Now, so let's do just that. Press next. Oh, you're gonna take control for me. Alright. Okay, we're on our way to the apopsis now. Notice how your ship loses speed as we rise. That's because we're climbing away from the planet. Notice how your ship loses speed. Okay? We're climbing away from the planet. So we lose speed as we go higher. We ain't really going higher. I don't know why I'm saying that. Just like a ball does when you throw it into the air back on Kerbal. The higher you are, the slower your orbit will be. Notice how the moon's orbital speed is around 540 meters a second. You can see this by hovering. What if that's miles or meters? It's got to be miles. Miles a second, 540 miles a second. The higher you are, the slower your orbit will be. Notice how the moon orbits orbital speed is around 540 miles a second. You can see this by hovering over the moon's marker. While yours is far higher, that's because our orbit is so much lower than that of the moon. When we reach Apapsis, we will burn prograde again to raise the Parapsis node and circularize your orbit. So if we come out here and we right click on the moon, we can see that the value is 542 miles a second. So it's speed. There is no such thing as position. There's only speed and freaking altitude or something, right? So we're coming up here on our Apapsis. It's probably going to pause or something for me, right? Okay, we are here. Yeah. Okay, here we are. Same as before, turn your ship to face prograde. Mind that we are probably facing the other way right now, so the prograde marker might not be visible at first, but you can find it easily because it's on the opposite side from the retrograde marker. Once you're facing the right direction, fire up the engines and watch the Parapsis rise. So we want to, okay, here we are, same as before, turn your ship and face prograde. We want to face prograde, that's what we're doing. We're facing prograde, which is going to be like what we were talking about earlier. We want to raise that out. And now the Earth is about to bring us back in, okay? So we're about to pick up speed because the Earth is going to be pulling us into it, but we're going to miss gravity, right? And this is where we're going to slow down, is on the opposite side here. So if we wait till after this apapsis right here and we burn, it'll use less fuel because we're about to start picking up speed anyways. We're going to use that speed to help increase our orbit. We passed it. All right, we're past it. So let's go ahead and hit Z. We're burning. We want to keep burning prograde until the orbit is nearly circular a counter. So we need to bring it out to 800. Essentially will be 0 when it's perfectly circular, so keep an eye on that. Alright. This is how you change the size of your orbit. This maneuver should come in handy in many situations. Next, we'll look into changing your orbital inclination. Press next when you're ready. Your orbital inclination is an angle between your orbit and Kerbine's equator. If you've managed to maintain a reasonable amount of control so far, we should still be in a nearly 0 inclination orbit. This is even though we have changed the altitude of our orbit. This is the little purple thing we were talking about earlier. It still has the same inclination as before. Changing inclination is done by thrusting at a 90-degree angle to your prograde vector, but without changing your pitch relative to the surface. On our present nearly equatorial equilateral orbit, prograde to due east, that means to increase our inclination so that our orbit takes us into higher latitude, we have to burn towards the normal direction. If all that I just said made your head spin, boo! The nav ball once again came to your rescue. In this case, you will need to use the normal vector to change your orbital inclination. Let's try that now. Turn the ship to the normal vector's direction and open the throttle. Normal vector. Alright, so we want to change it over to this little purple triangle. As you can see, that's going to be facing up to our orbit, and that's going to tilt. We'll see that here in just a second. We'll keep it right here. So now turn your ship to normal vector and open up throttle. So if we turn it, see, it tilts now. Not changing the camera, it's tilting. What do we want to do? Get it to a 10 degree. So we're at a 7.4, 8, 9, 10. There we go, kill it. Yeah. Good, this is how you change your orbital inclination. For this maneuver, it's always better to do it in the slowest part of the orbit so you don't have to spin as much delta V to turn your orbit around. That also means inclination changes on large orbits, such as we are on now, take less fuel than the same inclination change on a lower orbit. So it's easier to do it out here than it is to do it when you're in orbit. Also keep in mind that changing inclinations doesn't necessarily mean accelerating to the north or south. It means accelerating at the right angle to your prograde vector, which on your nearly equilateral orbit also happens to be towards the north. Next, let's look into the last essential maneuver you'll need to learn, lowering our orbit. As you can imagine, lowering your orbit altitude is very much like raising it, only in reverse, but because there's no air up here, we can use our main engines to decelerate as well as accelerate, because this ship's orientation will not cause problems with airflow, and flying backwards is easy as flying forwards. Also, since our orbit is nearly circular, we can just turn retrograde and do our burn at any time now, so let's get to it. Turn towards the retrograde vector and start the engine up again. Here we go, we're going to turn retrograde. Oh, shit, kind of. Y'all have no idea what's in store for you. Sending you to the moon. Alright, let's start up the engines. And we'll watch the map. We'll see our orbit is now getting smaller. We don't want to bring it all the way in, so what's he saying? Keep burning retrograde until the parabosis altitude is around 200 miles. 200,000 miles. Try getting it as close as possible this time. If you overshoot... Alright, here we go. We gotta stop it now. Oh, we overshot it. It's okay. Try getting as close as possible. If you overshoot and make it too low, turn prograde and accelerate a little to bring it back up. For precision, remember that you can fine-tune your throttle using the left control and right control. So we need to turn around. Okay. Now we're going to use shift and bring it up just a little bit. Slow, slow, slow. Oh. We need to turn back just a little bit, so we're going to turn prograde. But really, I could probably come down here and turn, where's it at? How do I turn RCS on display? Docking. Yeah. There. That's funny. They don't. There's no RT. There's no RCS on the back. That's funny. Maneuver mode. Yeah, let's go back to map. We gotta go back a little bit. I gotta turn that off. I forgot how to turn docking mode. There we go. Oh, or maybe I can use docking mode now. What do I gotta do? I gotta go back. I think that's as close as I want to get it. Keep burning retro. Oh, 20,000. Oop, look, here I am all like getting. Let's turn around. I think we're right. I think we're right. Retrograde. Retrograde. And then just burn. We gotta be getting to 20,000, not 200. 76, 5, 4, 3, 2. There it is. That's it. You're now on your way back. 20,000 is a low enough to hit the atmosphere. So you are now on a re-entry course to Kerbal. Once we're below 60,000 miles, the atmosphere will start slowing the ship down to the point that it won't have enough velocity to rise back up again. This is all we need to do for this lesson. You could keep playing and either perform more maneuvers or do this path down to a landing, or you could skip to the next lesson. If you do not try for a landing, don't forget to decouple the capsule and deploy the parachute. Should we go for it? Should we go for it? What? Alright, we need to decouple something, he said. The decoupler's not working. There we go, there we go. Alright. M. That's supposed to bring me back into orbit, right? Yeah, that'll definitely bring me back. So, let's decouple. Turn retrograde, right? Is that what we're doing already? No. There we go. Or am I backwards? Am I seeing it backwards here? Maybe turn retrograde. Yeah, I'm seeing it backwards. Oh, we fast forward. Watch little Kerbals in there. They are having a blast. They just don't care. There you go. Yeah, y'all fix yourselves. Yeah, look at them. You're about to go on the most intense Six Flags ride ever. Backwards. Yeah. Are you ready? I think we're gonna be landing on the dirt here. Let's check our parachute. Minimum pressure. Altitude. What's getting hot here? Oh my gosh, the shuttle's getting hot itself. It's going down. It is look, there's the moon. We are coming for you next. Shoot for the moon. Man, what a freaking vector. Coming in steep. Just riding through that, atmosphere there. There it is. It should be safe to deploy the chute without them actually deploying. As long as they don't get jammed. You were the first 3 Kerbals to make a complete orbit all the way around the planet. How do you feel? What did Rick have in his little universe in a box where they had to stomp on the Google Squash, like they had to stomp on the boxes to produce energy? These are my little Kerbals in a box. They produce a bunch of energy for me. I'll tell you what, we're picking up some speed. Um, I mean, like, I'm moving pretty fast here. There we go. Now we'll just hit fast forward and just write it down. Using physics work can affect the structural stability of the vessel. Be careful. Turn it down some. I'll turn it all the way up. Here comes the ground. Here it comes. Will they survive? It's a Google Squatch. Was that the name of it? A Google Squatch or something? Boom! Congratulations! Did it! Get out! Oh, I can't get Evo. Recall vessel. Space Center. You must hit exit and hit the end scenario button. Alright. So that is orbiting 101, right? Science basics. In this tutorial, Warner von Kerman will walk you through the Kerbal scientific method. You will learn how experiments work and why it's so cool, right? Hello and welcome to today's lecture on the Kerbal scientific method. I am Warner von Kerman, a scientist extraordinaire. Scientist extraordinary, this tutorial doesn't really require any previous knowledge, but in order to gather science points, you will have to acquaint yourself with almost every aspect of the game. So you should do them all at the same point. We are now at the Kerbal Space Center. For a tour, see the basic construction tutorial. For now, we'll focus on the research development complex. That is right. Right here. Big building. The large complex nearest to you is the research and development complex. This is where you will make use of the science points your missions award you to unlock more parts. Go ahead and click on it in action. Very good. What you see in the middle of the graph paper background is the tech tree. It shows how far you research has taken Kerbal technology. You don't have much to show right now because you're not a world-class scientist like myself. At least not yet. But I trust you have the potential to achieve great things. Yeah. In a typical career game, you will start with a few parts and have to earn the rest. For education's sake, I've gone ahead and given some data units to your space program, so you should have enough science to unlock the next node. The total of your current available science points is shown on the top right. Let's get cracking. Select any of the available grayed out nodes and click the blue research button on the right pane. Some of the science points will be pointed to by that inventation. Invention. Yeah, invention. Click it. Research it. Aha. That's how research is done. You may have noticed that the additional nodes were linked to the one you just researched and are now available to the researched as well. Don't know what to pick next? Don't worry. You can select a node at any time and useful information will be displayed in the right pane. This includes the new parts it contains, and how much science is needed to research it. Now that you're probably thinking to yourself, this is all nice and jolly, but how do I get more science? You can get more by doing many things such as gathering crew reports from regions, your Kerbal visits, fulfilling some kind of contract, collecting samples from the various locations, equipping in ships with parts for experiments, such as the Master Goo containment unit, and using them, etc. There are many possibilities, really. Most of these actions are performed through context menus, which are displayed when you right-click on a various part and sometimes on Kerbals. Just keep in mind that your missions need to transmit the results of or survive a physical return to Kerbine in order for the raw data points to be converted into useful science. All of the activities I mentioned and the many others you can discover are tracked in a record for future references. You can access these science archives by clicking the yellow button on the upper left. Well, what are you waiting for? Click. Okay. That's it. The first and most important thing to note is the rugged good looks of the fellow in charge. Is that me? Talking about me? You can also see which science activities you have already performed, when, with whom, and how much science they earn for you. This is important because you see, if you repeat the same experiment multiple times, its scientific value diminishes because you already know it. Part of the answer, right? Mind you, as a result, you will receive less science each time you repeat an activity until you get particularly nothing for it at all. Just don't do the same thing over and over again and expect the same results. That's madness. No? Just try it. Another outstanding feature of the archive is that you can check with celestial bodies you have already visited and conducted experiments on or around. You can also do this by clicking on the icon corresponding to the body that you're interested in. For now, you will only see the records of the research I give you. But once you start doing your own science, you'll be able to check it here. Haha. Aha, Mr. Warner von Kermit. It covers that covers the basics of science. This is a theoretical class, and I'm sure it will only make a lot more sense when you go out and try it yourself. Remember that science requires curiosity, so go out and experiment and don't be discouraged if a mission doesn't go quite as planned. If you learn something new, it's not a complete failure. If you're still feeling lost, feel free to try the other tutorials. I'm looking forward to your accomplishments. I must continue my own research now. When you're done, show yourself out by using the red leave button on the upper right. Okay, we're done. Boom, 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 boom. Eve. Eve. We're getting to Eve. There's Kerbin. Jewel. On the moons of Jewel. Elio. Okay, so here we go. Leave. See my way out? All the way out? Okay, bye. Alright. What's next? To the moon. We are headed. Can we do it? Didn't read the little tutorial box. Oops. It's okay. Welcome to the first series of lessons designed to prepare you for a flight in and around Kerbine's local system. I've been inspired by the famous works of Julius Kerbin, From the Kerbine to the Moon. We'll take a leaf out of his book and go out better by returning as well. In our first lesson, we will be starting from LKO, low Kerbine orbit, and traveling to the moon. Ending in a low lunar orbit, I'm going to assume you've completed the flight tutorial preceding this, as well as Orbital 101, but if not, you really should go do them first. When you're ready, click Next. An important part of flights between celestial objects is a transfer orbit, which basically means an orbit used to change between two orbits. In our case, the parapsis of our orbit will be very near to Kerbine, and the apapsis will extend to just beyond the moon's orbit. Interplanetary trajectories are much the same, but on a much larger scale. Press M to continue. To perform a successful transfer, you'll need to arrange for your ship and the target to arrive at the same place at the same time. If you really know what you're doing, you can calculate your own transfer orbit on the fly, or you could try eyeballing it. However, it's much easier to use a maneuver node, so let's do that now. Click anywhere on your orbit, then click Add Maneuver. We got an orbit down here around here. We got a counterclockwise orbit. We're going to want to come out here to our parapsis, and we want to add a maneuver. Do note that when placing a career mode game maneuver node will not be immediately available. You will have some facility upgrades to do before you have access to them. Add maneuver. Maneuver node lets you plan orbit maneuvers ahead of time, and most importantly, you can do so without wasting precious propellant. As you can see, maneuver nodes have 6 handles. The green one, or prograde and retrograde, the purple one, normal and anti-normal, and the blue ones are radial in and radial out. Okay. I'm not going to go into detail about this right now because these are the same vectors on the nav ball you saw in the Orbiting 101 tutorial. For now, just remember that prograde and retrograde help you grow or shrink your orbit, and normally anti-normal help you tilt. You can click and drag the different handles to see how a burn made in that direction would affect the resulting orbit. In our particular case, we want to bring the apapsis up just enough to anticipate the moon's orbit at a point around 45 degrees ahead of the moon's current position. If your trajectory is current, the orbital line will shift colors when it goes close to the moon, the indicator that the points where your ships will transition from the influence of Kerbine's gravity to that of the moon. The region in which the pull from the body's gravity is strongest is its sphere of influence, or SOI. In real life, that gravitational influence of all planets and moons matters too. Let's get to it. Okay. Let's get to it then. With the handles showing, You might need to click on the node to make them appear. Pull the prograde handle until your post maneuver orbit reaches as high as of the moon. But going that high is not enough to achieve an actual encounter. As I said before, timing also matters. So you may also need to move the node itself until you get inter, intercept SOI change into SOI change with the moon. You can do this by clicking on the inner circle of the node and dragging it forwards or back along the line your current orbit's path. Don't forget that you can zoom the camera back to see a wider region of space. If you want to start the burn planning over, you can delete the maneuver node and create a new one from scratch. To, to delete a node, right-click the maneuver node while it's open, then click on the red delete icon. You can also click on the next orbit or previous orbit button if you want to move node move the node forward or back in time by a whole orbit. Very useful if it gets beyond you by mistake. Okay, so we need to re-click back on the orbit. We want to create an orbit, like there's the moon. This will make it smaller. This will make it bigger. What does this one do? It tilts it left and right. Let's bring it back to where it needs to be. Oh, wasn't trying to do that. No. Let's bring it back out. We want to, ooh, that's way too far. Okay. Now if we see here, looks like we kind of, something happens here. What's going on? Let's get to it. Don't forget, I can click something and move it forwards and backwards. Okay, so that's by going out here. I can click on something. No. What can I drag forwards and backwards? Don't forget that you can zoom the camera back to see a wider region. Clicking on the inner circle. I don't know what that's doing. Yeah, I see what it's doing there. See, it doesn't intercept the moon anywhere else there. But if I move it around, I can see that I somewhat kind of get into a lunar orbit there. That's way past it, huh? What circle is it talking about? I know there's one I can do that, like, warp here. But does it bring it back to the same day? Or is it a different day? Node, T time, burn time. So right there is like the catching point. Like something right in there. Get me there. Let's get to this. Hit next. There we go. You've planned a trans-maneuver injection maneuver. Your post-maneuver orbit will enter the moon's sphere of influence. There are a few things to note now. So bring up your nav ball. You will find a few indicators and displays that weren't there before you added the maneuver node. We saw these during the Go for Orbit tutorial too. You remember, but allow me to refresh your memory. The bar on the right is a graphical depiction of the velocity change, delta V for short, required to perform the burn you've plotted. Below that, you will also see the approximate time necessary to make the maneuver and deplete the graphical display of the burn. A new time also counts down to the maneuver your ship will reach the maneuver node. We can speed up time to get to the burn position faster by clicking any point of orbit beyond the maneuver node, and then click warp to the next maneuver. Do that now. If for some reason your maneuver node gets messed up, you can delete it. Yeah. So there's our maneuver node. So we need to click to maneuver. See our ship's here now. Getting ready to line up with our maneuver, which is the blue here. Close to our maneuver time. It's counting down. Where's our countdown? Burn time. Start burn in 13 seconds. 10 seconds. That's going to be our burn. 9, 8, 7, 6. I really want to read this. We're getting close to the maneuver time. There is one final step to take before performing the burn. You need to point your vessel down the plane vector represented by the blue cross, or an arrow pointed to do so. Check. Once oriented, you can worry about the burn. You're an expert. Here's an expert tip. Look at the burn time estimate. Have it and start your burn when the T minus timer reads the number. If your burn time is 20 seconds, they start burning at T10. This is because the maneuver node assumes an intentionous instantaneous burn. So if you average the burn around it, produce a more accurate orbit than if you only start burning at the time of the node, so the average point is later. So I should have been started burning at node in T 42 seconds. Start burn in 40. T10. The maneuver node assumes I don't get it. Once oriented, you can worry about the burn. You're an expert. Here's an expert tip. Look at the burn time estimate. Have it and start your burn. The burn time estimate. Okay. Have it. So half of it's 400, we'll say. Start burning at T10 seconds. This is because the maneuver node assumes an instantaneous burn. So if you average the burn around it, it produces a more accurate orbit. I guess. T1. I'm gonna go with this. Burn. I don't know what the whole node in T is. Besides, do not. Alright, so I hope we brought enough fuel here. Our thing is about to whip out there. There's the moon. Ending burning. on 0.9 milliseconds left. That was my burn. It got us there. Good work. But you may have noticed actual orbit is not exactly the one you had planned. This is because real burns are never instantaneous. However, close enough is good enough. As long as the trajectory marks are showing that we got a moon encounter pretty close to the one we wanted. If you're not quite satisfied with your maneuver, anticipate you can still fine tune it by a bit by making small burns in various directions, but be careful not to overdo it. A counter burn can undo a goof, but you still don't want to be wasting fuel. Now we'll wait for you to be sucked up by the moon's gravity, but since that can't take around 6 hours, it can take around 6 hours, you'll probably want to use the warp here. Trick like we used before, or plan old time warp to shorten any wait. Try warping to just inside the moon's SOI. So we're gonna come out here. We're gonna place a little maneuver out here. I think that's what we can do now. All right, cancel this one. Go. Now, right outside the SOI, let's go right here and put a here. Whoa! We should have got to see that on camera. All right, good work. There's the moon. We're getting close. We are getting close to the moon. Guess we need to speed it up some. Do 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 do. There it is. There it is. You are now in the moon's sphere of influence, and moons is the only gravity affecting the motion of your ship. But you're on an escape trajectory relative to the moon, which means that you are moving too quickly to orbit the moon. If we don't if we didn't do anything, whiz on past it and escape. You will need to slow below escape velocity. Burn retrograde at a parapsis in order to be captured and insert into lunar orbit. Remember the Orbit 101 tutorial. It's best to change your apoapsis at a parapsis. Or change your apopsis at a parapsis. And capturing is effectively changing your apopsis from something far beyond Moon SOI to a height that never leaves Moon SOI. So we will perform that maneuver at parapsis. If your parapsis is hiding under the moon's surface, that means you will crash unless you do something. You can fix this by creating a maneuver about halfway to the moon or even earlier, and then adjust either of the blue handles radial in or radial out to shift the parapsis to the altitude that you want it to be, say 50 kilometers. Execute that maneuver if necessary and we'll continue. Okay, so let's go to back here to the map. Alright, so we are now about to get captured by the moon here. And this is actually our orbit, apparently. Even though we shot out here, there it is. The moon's starting to pick us up. Now we're heading back, right? Let's kind of hit I and see what happens. It's playing out here. Alright, so it looks like we're going to crash into the moon unless we do something here. What do we need to do? Set a maneuver. We need to slow down. We need a trajectory. Need to kind of come out. Definitely need to slow down. Something like that. So something like that kind of creates an orbit, right? Now, let's execute that. So we got SAS, we got RCA. Let's turn maneuver. Turn back here. We'll see our ship change to its direction that needed to be, which is retrograde. And we also need to be performing a radial in, right? Something like that. But it's going to do it automatically because we got the maneuver set. And start burning in 32 minutes. That is some time to kill. Right? Imagine if you like try to do this game in like IRL. Constant IRL time. One day we'll have a constant stream. So until then, we're going to pull up M, and what we do is we go up here and we set a maneuver. Oh, we don't want that. We want that maneuver, and we're going to warp here. All right, and we've reached our destination. All right, the burn is T minus 2 minutes. And so what we're going to do is we're going to fast forward a few. T minus 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds, 1 minute now, T minus 30 seconds, T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. Burn ends in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Not quite there. We need to do a slow burn. We kind of overshot it a little bit. Let's check our orbit here, see if that's fine. We now have an orbit around the moon. You are now in the moon's sphere of influence. Okay, we've already read that. Now now that you're not on an escape trajectory, try to get yourself into a reasonable circular orbit below at least 200,000 miles. Uh, remember, you can use yet another maneuver node. If your paralysis is also higher than 200 miles, 200,000 miles, you'll need to lower your paralysis first to make it your new paralysis. Then burn at a paralysis to lower the other one into. Okay, so here we go. We have the moon paralysis here is 171. Why is it doing double? I don't think it's supposed to be doing that. Oh, that's because I still have my maneuver here. We need to pull the maneuver up and delete the maneuver. There we go. I don't know why it does that. Perhaps it's 172. That's good. That's what we're wanting, below 200. So we want to add a maneuver here at our PE, periapsis, and we're going to slow down. By slowing down, by burning prograde, we are able to bring our apapsis down to, right click it there, 200. What's this one, 170? So we'll bring it down to something similar. But you see, as I did that, I created the There's a different one here, right? So up until that point, it really doesn't change. But as soon as it whips around, whoop, which means you can't get them same because, see, you couldn't get an equal orbit, which is fine. That's okay. We just want to get this below 200. And that's fine. So let's go ahead and let's execute this. We're going to come up here and put a maneuver. So right before, we're going to add a warp. We're going to watch it this time. There's the moon. Flying past. We're going to come and mine you. We're going to come and put Bitcoin miners on the moon. Yeah, we're going to be the first Bitcoin miners. All right. Start burn is right down here at 1 minute 40 seconds. So we can probably speed it up just a little bit. There we go. T minus 1 minute. There's T minus 30 seconds. And there's one thing we forgot to do. We forgot to change towards our maneuver. Sometimes if you got a big enough ship, it's hard to maneuver it. So if you waited till 30 seconds, it's not good. So we were able to maneuver our ship to the correct distance. Now we're waiting for start burn in T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Alright, burn time. And that's it. Let's go ahead and do a little soft burn. See how close we can get it. And right there. A little overburn by 2 meters, 0.2 miles a second. Good work. You're now in a stable circular orbit around the moon, with a ship fully capable of landing. Capable of landing. See to the moon, part 2 for good work. Good work. You're now in a stable circular orbit around the moon with a ship fully capable of landing. Capable of landing anyway after you decouple the transfer stage so that it's not in the way. See to the moon part 2 for a tutorial on landing. Today you've learned how to use maneuver nose to plan your future orbits, set out to travel to another world, and parked in orbit around it. In our next lesson, we'll cover the landing procedure, which I've really look forward to showing you. Landing on another body is both exciting and terrifying experience, especially when you crash. It's like, oh no, I forgot to save it. Landing on another body is a both exciting and terrifying experience. But for now, I'm running late for lunch. So, running late for lunch. So, I will see you later. Later, Jeannie Kerman. All right, what do you want us to do? All right, fire this rocket into the moon. All right, so we are on To the Moon Part 2. Woo, look, there's From the Moon, Docking. Gosh, and then these two, I haven't done these two yet. To the Moon Part 2. Here you will learn how to land safely on the moon and by extension, other airless bodies. It picks up where part 1 left off, right? Why'd you even stop? Why even stop part 1? Welcome to the moon part 2. In this tutorial, you're going to land this vessel on the moon. In To the Moon part 1, you brought this vessel, along with its transfer stage, to low lunar orbit. Between the tutorials, that transfer stage was decoupled. So now you're done down to just the land and return stage. When you're ready to begin, we'll review the flight plan. All right. So they said they already ejected the other part back here. Your flight plan your flight plan to get to the surface safely will be as follows. Execute a maneuver at low throttle, warp to the new parapsis, burn retrograde at medium throttle, reducing speed and altitude until you are only 1.5 kilometers above the surface. Descend at a measured pace, 1 mile a second of speed per 10 miles of altitude remaining. Land softly on the moon's surface. You'll notice that I've set up maneuver nodes for you. This will be your decent orbit inserting burn. It's a burn that will insert you into a decent orbit that almost but not quite touches the moon's surface. Yeah, it's like crazy how like close of an orbit you can get to the moon. All right. Do I need to hit next? Execute a maneuver at low throttle. Warp to the new parapsis. Warp to the maneuver node as I've taught you. When it's time to hit 0, then execute the burn. When done, remove the node. Do this at low throttle so you have better control, since burn would only take a single second of throttle. Let's pull up M. He says he's already got a maneuver lined out for us, so we're going to do that. We're going to warp here. And he said that he's got this low lunar orbit here that just barely touches. Right? Which I hate how the camera works in here sometimes. What does shift do? Oh no! No, 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 don't hit shift. Don't hit shift. Alright, so we want to turn SAS. I don't know why RCS keeps turning off. We want to face our maneuver. Everything's right. It shows we've already kind of jacked it. And that's how you possibly wreck a spaceship. $1 billion spaceship. We're on the dark side of the moon. It's cold. All right, T minus 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're just going to do a small little. And the node burn's only supposed to last for so long. But you don't want to do a complete full throttle. And that seems pretty successful there. But I don't know what it's saying here. Now we wait. Do this at low throttle so you have better control, since the burn would only take a single second at full throttle. Yes. I thought we made that a session. So pilot over here. Valentina Kermine. Oh, good to have you back. He has been one strong astronaut for us, huh? Now, I don't know what's going on, but I think I'm supposed to just ride it out. We're just going to kind of fast forward it here just a little bit. And I don't know why it has, let me change that to ground. Slow it down just a little bit here. And I see, I don't know how like accurate it's wanting me to get here, but it's still giving me the maneuver option. Ooh. But I thought I hit it pretty right on, you know. I feel like this is it. I don't know what's wanting me to do. Speed it up. What are we doing? What are we waiting on? We crash and burn, we crash and burn, alright. Crazy, you zoom out, but it's like it doesn't do anything. This is so big and massive. Alright, I want to face retrograde also. I can't do that while I'm fast forward. I wonder if I keep an orbit. I have a feeling that's going to bring me into an orbit. Facing retrograde because I want to slow down here in just a second. We are going to the moon. To the moon. We are going to the moon. Oh wait, we're at the moon. Where? Something I forgot to do. I forgot to turn on some music. Can't forget to turn on the music. Alright, so this takes some time here. Let's go ahead and do a warp to next maneuver. Why not let me do that? Alright, so we're coming up here on the lowest part of our orbit. I got some gear here I need to push out. Oh, I need to start slowing down. More maneuver to the node as I've taught you. Time hits 0, then execute the burn. When done, remove the node. Oh. Oh, I forgot to remove the node. That's what's going on. Make sure your preference is now set to 6 kilometers. You might need to go back to map view to do this. It's not adjust it. If not, adjust it as I've taught you. By making very fine burns, being careful to throttle up only very slightly so as not to overdo things. If you can't make fine enough correction burning prograde and retrograde, try burning radial in and out, even normal alternate. Okay. Now we're going to warp to the next new low prefs. That's where we're at. Hang tight and get ready to deploy your landing gear. I just did that. Start your braking burn. You'll be burning at 1.3 throttle, so the marker on the throttle gauge. This is because you want to come in gently and not kill your velocity too soon. If you kill all your speed, Now you'll just start falling and pick up more speed again, which you'll have to burn more fuel to re-cancel out. But the way this path is a reverse gravity turn, similar to the one we flew in Ascent in the Go for Orbit tutorial, except reverse. Anyway, I'm going to enable the target indicator to assist like we did in the Go for Orbit tutorial. Follow it during the braking burn. If your descent speed gets too high, we'll move to the next step early. Okay. Here we are. We're moving to the next one. He's wanting me to do what? Okay. Okay, we are going to now we're getting close now. Hit G to deploy your landing gear. Then throttle up to 1/3 if you're not there already and start burning at the target marker. Remember, you can use SAS target mode to point yourself at the target if you need help. Okay, that's what I've already done. I guess that's the target there, the purple thing. The one you want me to point at. The target. Anti-target. Okay. Don't let your vertical speed pass 100 meters a second. Also, don't let it ever go positive, or you'll be wasting fuel by climbing instead of descending. So we need to keep our vertical speed right here, above 100. Don't let it go past 100. But letting it fall too much is just pointless. Here we go. Throttle up to 1/3. G. We've already deployed the landing gear, right? Okay, we need to keep one above. Speed is 466. Once you reach, don't let your vertical speed pass 100 meters a second. Isn't that what's up here? Or vertical speed, yes. So if we were moving fast, it would go that. Okay. But also, don't let it ever go positive, or you'll be wasting fuel. Negative 100, so I need to keep it right here, but don't let it go positive. So here's 0. That would be positive 1. Don't let it even get 1, or we're going positive. We need to stay at negative 100. True reach only 1.5 kilometers up, or earlier if you're descending too quickly. We'll move on. Vertical speed. Okay, that would actually fall faster. Vertical speed. Our speed is at 370. So our speed's decreasing. Where do we notice speed at? Where's speed indicated at? I see it's giving us a number here. Throttle up. Okay, we're kind of speeding up here. Vertical speed is at 50. We're starting to. Oh no. We need to stay on target here. Throttle down, throttle down, throttle down. Oh no. Reject. 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 He fixed it. Throttle down. Throttle up, throttle up, throttle up, throttle up, throttle down, throttle down. Coasting, coasting. We got a quite a negative. We want to keep it at about 0. Throttle up, throttle up. Ah. Oh no, what do we do? We're on the moon. We're all like floaty. There's a target. There's a target. Pedal up. Pedal up. I'm trying. Now. I know once we get a positive grade, we just flip ourselves. Ooh. 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 Touchdown! Congratulations! You've landed on the surface of the moon. Shake hands. That's one small step for Val, and giant leap for Kerbal Con. Now we just have to go and do it. Oh, then we just do it. All right. Is it gonna let us do an Evo? Valentina Kerman, you have successfully become the first Kerbine to walk on the moon. Can we place a flag? How do we place the flag? There's gotta be a way to place a flag. How do you place the flag, Kerbal? Plant flag. Yes. Training 101 to the moon. Take surface sample. Yes. Yeah. To the. Oh no. First Kerbine to the moon. Valentina Kerbin. You'll forever go down in Kerbin history. Now go stomp on your Google Squatch box. How do I get up there? Ooh. F. We gotta jump. There we go. Super jump. Here we go. Purple super jump. Try that again. It's a Kerbal. Kerbal super jump. Ooh. Grab. He grabbed it. He grabbed it. He grabbed it. I don't know what he's grabbing onto. He's grabbing onto something. Alright, let's turn the. Try pulling that out. F. There we go. Where's the door at? That's what I'm looking for. B. B is the board. No. Alright, come on. Pull your RCS out. Let's fly up there. And we gotta click B. F to grab. And B to board. Alright, we're in. What next? Let's get off this dirty planet. We planted our flag. It's time to go. Get up. We're to the moon. Big little cabin, man. That's crazy. We'll do that there. We got no way. Yeah. Jump out in Evo here. Yeah, we're just gonna hang out. Turns out there's nothing on the moon. That's a long journey there. And just throws you out there. In scenario. Training. What's next? From the moon. Didn't we just do that? I think here we will review how to bring our brave Kerbal crew back home once they manage to safely land on the moon. We did safely land on the moon. Did we not? Welcome to From the Moon. In our last lesson, we landed the aircraft on the moon. Hopefully your pilot had a chance to stretch her legs and look around. If not, we'll start there. After that, we'll be heading home for Kerbine. In this lesson, I'll teach you how to take off from the moon and reach a stable orbit, and then how to return from the moon, or any moon, to its parent planet. Indeed, the same skill can be used to depart Kerbine towards other planets in the inner solar system. Lastly, I'll cover re-entry covering a high velocity heat shield required. When you're ready, we can review the flight plan. A high velocity return, huh? To send Valentina an extra vehicular activity EVA, click the EVA button on her portrait. Have her jump off the craft and play with the experience of walking in lunar gravity. When she's finished frolicking, turn her jetpack on and fly her up to the pad again. She can get back inside by grabbing the handles near the door and then hitting the keystroke to go back inside. And once you're back in the pod, or if you want to skip the EVA, click next. We did that already. Excuse me. Okay, moving on. This return flight will have 3 distinct phases: ascent from the moon surface, trans-Kerbine injection, and trans-lunar re-entry. Once you're finished, the first phase, establishing your low lunar orbit, will cover the detail of the next. For now, here's what you're going to do. As always in this lesson, I'll add a target marker to assist your steering. Throttle up, then immediately pitch over down to 90 degrees, heading line, which is east. Follow the marker. Cut the throttle when your apopsis gets about 50 kilometers. Circularize an apopsis. This will be much simpler than when you did your Kerbine ascent to go for orbit tutorial. The moon has much shallower gravity well than Kerbine, so you only need a single stage and not even all of that. Remember this is the same stage you used to land on the moon, and we're also going to use it to return home. Moon's gravity is so much weaker than Kerbine's, plus we're not being held back on an atmosphere. This one stage will have the fuel capacity for the entire landing and return leg of the mission. I've placed the marker on your nav ball. When you're ready, throttle up to max hit Z and immediately start turning. Given your orientation when this tutorial begins, that will be by yawing. Your thrust to weight ratio TWR is very high in the moon's weak gravity, and against there's no atmosphere to worry about, so you can turn very, very sharply without risking disaster, the way this flight path would on Kerbine. We'll be at only 6 degrees pitch by 40 milliseconds, 40 miles a second. As almost, you can use this SAS follow target mode to follow the marker if you're having trouble. So go ahead and throttle up and start turning. There we go. Turn it to target. And then let's throttle up. It automatically starts following target, or you can either do prograde, either or, right? orbit going. We just kind of just lifted off of there, right? Like it was no big deal. If we get a prograde with a target with orbital here, they wanted us to go east. I think that's what we're doing. So, orientation going. Current apapsis, current terrain. So let's not waste all of our fuel. We got something going on here. I don't want to add a maneuver. What I want to do is I want to turn retrograde. Not retrograde, I want to turn anti-normal. And what was that right there? That's radial out, right? And then I want to accelerate. Uh-oh. There's something wrong here. Set my orbit there. That was going to do it. Did that get me there? Yeah, I did. That maneuver. Nope, that reversed everything. That was wrong. Let's bring that out. We want to get an orbit around the moon now. There we go. Oh, okay. You're just gonna do that, huh? I'm on board. All right, burn time in 4 minutes. It knows what it's doing. Let's set a warp here. Way to go, Valentina! We're almost there. Rotate your craft to align it with the blue maneuver marked by yourself, or use the SAS maneuver mode. This aligns your ship with the node's burn vector to do it for you. Burn to execute the node once your time is maneuvered about half an estimated burn time. As we discussed in the prior tutorial, this makes the burn more efficient and precious. If all else fails, burn prograde to make sure your parapsis is not more than 5 kilometers lower than your apopsis, close enough to a circular orbit for our current parapsis. And we need to turn towards the maneuver. Maneuvers in 30 seconds. Oh, I passed it. So we need to go ahead and we need to start burning. We missed our burn. It's okay. What is that going to do? That's going to like leave us out of the moon's orbit. So far we got plenty of fuel. Looks like we just left the moon's orbit. And yeah, we're out. No, we got an orbit now. We're almost there. Rotate your craft to align it with the blue maneuver marked by yourself. Uh-oh. What's going on here? What we did. To return from a moon to the body it orbits, or to eject from a planet into a solar orbit, you must reach escape velocity. And it matters quite a lot when you orbit you do so. But when in your orbit you do so. You want to make sure the effort you expand to reach escape velocity creates the current resulting orbit. Switch to map view if you are not there already. Zoom far enough out and rotate the camera to show all 3 objects, your ship, the moon, and Kerbal. From above, note your direction of travel in your orbit. If you're looking from the top, you're orbiting counterclockwise. Next, check the direction of travel of the moon in its orbit around Kerbal. Moon is orbiting in the same direction as you are, aligned with the rotation of the parent, a prograde orbit. You're going to eject opposite to the moon's direction of travel, but we will be accelerating forward with respect to our own orbit around moon. In order to do that, let's see how it's done. Move any existing nodes, then create a new node at your current moon orbit. Doesn't matter where, you will be moving it to visualize the results of your burn homeward. So let's add a maneuver. Drag the prograde handle until you have an escape trajectory. Okay. So you have an escape for it, which means that your projected path leaves Moon's SOI. Now drag the node itself and watch as your Kerbine collapses change. You'll find that you have the lowest PE when your ejected vectors is parallel to Moon's orbit track, but heading the opposite direction. If the Kerbal's PE disappears under Kerbine's surface, drag on the retrograde handle to reduce the burn until you can see the PE again. This will keep your re-entry survivable. You're now creating an ejection maneuver which, despite being prograde in manure orbit, gives you a retrograde kick in terms of your eventual Kerbine orbit. You can use the same principle to travel to other planets from Kerbine, although you'll need to be mindful of transfer windows, a term for the most efficient time to travel between planets. Once you've set your Kerbine's parallaxes to be between 5 kilometers and 32 kilometers, click next to proceed. You may need to fine-tune by adding radial in or outs V's to maneuvers. Okay, so now we need to get this. Go to that right? Okay. You've now created an ejection maneuver which, despite being prograde, yeah, there we go. That's kind of crazy when you get it right as you pass. Alright. You're now creating an injection maneuver which, despite, I remember I had problems with this last time figuring out exactly what it wanted me to do. Okay. Moving existing nodes. Drag the prograde handle until you have an escape trajectory. Okay. I have an escape trajectory. which means that your projected path leaves Moon's SOI. Now drag the node itself and watch as your Kerbine paralysis changes. You'll find that you have the lowest PE when your ejection vector is parallel to Moon's orbit. So, is that not right? Moon's Kerbine appears under Kerbine's surface. Find that you have the lowest PE when your ejection vector is parallel to Moon's orbit. Orbit track, but heading the opposite direction. If the Kerbal PE disappears under the Kerbine's surface, drag on the retrograde until... What happened there? Wow. There it is up there. There's the orbit. So it wants to go back until it does that. I don't know what that's doing. So there's normal. That's what we were doing. Drag on the retrograde handle to reduce the burn until you can see PE again. I don't see a PE at all. So I gotta set my paralysis between 5 kilometers and 32 kilometers. I don't get it. Let's do that. It's frustrating when you can't click on what you want to click on. Kilometers, miles, so I don't get what it's wanting me to do. I don't know what it wants me to do. Freaking get it. I know what I can do, but I know what it's not wanting me to do. Let's delete that. Alright, says we can get our most out of it at our paralysis or whatever. So let's try doing that. let's do that until we get an outer orbit. So we now have a outer orbit. Great. Let's try moving around here to this one here. Oh my goodness, so frustrating. Once you set your Kerbal perhaps to between 5 kilometers and click next to proceed. So we just need to do that, right? So we need to set our kilometers. What is kilometers? I thought it was going in miles. This is so frustrating. So let's just do something then, alright? Add maneuver. We want to 37, 34, we want 32, right? There we go. Let's do the maneuver. We'll do it. There's the maneuver. It's done. Alright, well let me click next now. Once you've set your Kerbal periapsis to be between 5 kilometers and 32 kilometers, click next to proceed. You've now created an ejection maneuver, which despite being prograde is lunar orbit. Give you a retrograde kick in terms of your eventual Kerbal orbit. You can use the same principle to travel to other planets from Kerbal. So you're wanting me to add a maneuver, we will create prograde, and let's just do it? Is that what you're saying? Just freaking do it? Alright, so we just do it, right? Burn. Alright. We're now out of orbit. Now what does it want me to do? We just speed up the clock, right? What happens? Guess that's our new orbit. Add maneuver. There we go. Now we got our orbit there. Let's move to our maneuver. Maneuvers in 1 hour. I think we can do an early burn. We're almost out of fuel. Oh my goodness. We're gonna run out of fuel. We just ran out of fuel. And we aren't close enough. Well, I don't think we made it close enough. I think we failed this tutorial. It was so damn confusing, I don't know what the hell. No idea what the hell. Let's just hit forward, see what happens. Will it get me there? Oh ho ho. Bomb. There's the orbit catching on path. It kind of looks like we have another orbit for the moon, but we don't. Here comes the moment of truth. Will orbit bring me in? I don't think it's going to. I think it's going to shoot me right back out towards the freaking moon. Here's the other scary part, is that apparently that trajectory catches back up with the moon. And what happens? Once your breath isn't much later, you'll have to clear and remain. Whoever knows what's happening here. Is the moon coming back around? What's going on here? How did that happen? Oh. Here it goes. Oh no. That's where the moon grabbed me and threw me on a different trajectory. That's crazy. I wonder if it'll grab me again. I wonder if there's any other point that I'll sync it back up with it. Right there. What's it gonna do? We just have to keep waiting and hoping the moon possibly throws us. Somehow throws us into the... Oh no. It looks like the moon grabs us and pulls us over. Is that what's happening? There we go. One day, we will bring Valentina Kerbine home. Or the moon might just chunk her into space. Oh no. Or the moon might just consume her and destroy the spaceship. Oh shucks, something went terribly wrong. Here you might want to try stay alive when you actually on an actual mission. Don't feel bad, you can try. Retry. Do 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 do. Resume flight. I would have to say we did it. I was just impatient. Me. But I would say that is part 2 of the tutorial of Kerbal Space Program. We made it through all the basics. We made it into orbit. Right? We came back in this video. In today's video, we took on Orbiting 101, Science Basics, To the Moon Part 1, To the Moon Part 2, From the Moon, and tomorrow we'll pick up on docking, asteroid redirection missions, asteroid redirection missions 2. And thanks for watching. That's Planet Earth. Please hit that like and subscribe button because you that make all this possible. I hope you really enjoyed the sound canceling technology that I implemented into the stream today. I also Forgot to turn the music on there late. I need to work on getting some music playing a little bit better. So, thanks for watching. Y'all have a great evening. Stay tuned. We're going to go to the moon on our own with no help. And possibly a couple videos from now. But I can't wait to see that asteroid direction. That's new. Some of these missions here. Yeah. Next time. Y'all have a good one.